Good evening. High street footfall has plummeted by 20% since the start of the pandemic. That's despite almost all COVID restrictions having been lifted. Our biggest cities have been the hardest hit, as our senior reporter Gordon Cree in Edinburgh and Susan Ripple in Glasgow have been finding out.
The St James's Quarter is the glittering heart of retail in Edinburgh. Since it opened last summer, it's proved popular as a destination for shopping. It's on target for more than 18 million visits in its first year.
I like it so we can spend a day together rather than if you buy things online, it just comes in a second. It's not an experience.
I think it's more for the boys so the boys can experience it and see it like first hand sort of thing, see what they're buying.
What have you got today?
I've got this cool Mercedes set.
Oh, I've got that. That's a good one.
And then a Spider-Man Miles Morales.
I like it. I like to physically shop, that's true. More than via the internet.
But Sauchiehall Street in Glasgow is a shadow of its former self. A lack of choice is changing the whole shopping experience.
It's a little bit sad. You don't get as much variety, there's much choice, and it almost forces you online.
It's sad to walk by and see stuff that's closed, kind of brings the mood down a little bit.
The high rent prices with the lockdown and COVID being happening, it's like businesses not being able to survive. Yeah.
Footfall across Scotland in March 2022 was down a fifth on March 2019.
The COVID pandemic has had a massive impact. At times, high streets were deserted for week after week.
Clearly, these are tough times for retail, with many traditional city centre stores either struggling or gone.
But the trends aren't the same everywhere, with plenty of shops in our local communities thriving.
While shops are closing on Sauchiehall Street, just under 3 miles south, more are opening up in the bustling area of Strathbungo. One of the more recent additions is Flowers Vermilion, which opened in January. They used to have a shop in town, but new footfall would be higher here.
It's quite a dense residential area. A lot of people are working at home because of maybe the pandemic, and there's a real community vibe around here. I think people do like independent shops. People liked what we were offering. When people see us with the flowers, putting them together, they invest in that as much as the object itself. They invest in us and what we're doing.
Empty units vacated by the big chains are now a common sight in Edinburgh's Princes Street, but in Morningside, business is brisk. Here, a combination of highlighting products online, offering personal customer service and making coming to the shop more of an experience has seen the tills ringing.
The slice of shops that we have down here is incredible, Every unit, if one goes down, it's being refilled. It's a busy little part of Edinburgh, and we're so lucky to have the schools, the housing and all the kind of independent shops around here that just offers people such a nice quality of life, really.
For both the UK and Scottish governments, town and city centre regeneration is on the agenda.
There's lots of built environment and heritage and culture that can be brought into play. It just needs a bit of determination and focus, because our town centres are precious. They're really critical on so many levels, and they are due a wee bit more focus and attention.
But like so many who are feeling financial pressure, the retail industry needs things to change sooner rather than later.
Scottish trade with the United States could be set for a historic boost as the first ever trade envoy is appointed. The work on developing imports, exports, investment and business relationships beyond pre-pandemic levels. It's as New York continues its Tartan Week celebrations. Our political reporter Laura Alderman has more.
A wee dram being savoured thousands of miles away from the casks it came from. The United States is the most valuable export market for Scotch, and although profits aren't yet back to pre-pandemic levels, the suspension of costly tariffs last summer has already helped whisky bars like this one in New York City.
The tariffs were misguided, unfair, and I think if they'd lasted much longer it would have been a great threat to Scotch whisky. Yeah, I'm not worried about Scotch. I think the future for Scotch is very strong. The desire to learn about Scotch and to experience Scotch is only increasing in this market, and I think the runway is long and the future is bright.
Despite COVID and supply chain issues creating a challenging trading environment here, demand for Scottish whisky remains high, meaning there's plenty for Scottish businesses to toast to. Including the appointment of the Scottish Government's first US trade envoy.
Tartan Day, Tartan Week is a huge opportunity for us to build on the centuries of goodwill and connections that there have been between Scotland and both the United States and Canada. It's going from strength to strength, and I think we should be really excited about what it is and what it can be in the future.
And that's music to the ears of businesses like Anna's. Based in Edinburgh, their tartan textiles are so popular across the pond, they've just opened up their first shop in the States.
We've just grown that market. When we were locked in during COVID, we spent a lot of time doing research and finding out where those customers were, and realistically we think we could double the size of the business through trade in the US. Yeah, definitely some expansion on the cards.
Hopes are high this momentum could lift an historic ban on haggis exports, with Scotland's largest producer hungrily eyeing up the market.
By all accounts, we could have haggis in the States for St Andrews this year. I am very hopeful because it's the most positive sign that I've had that we are at the final stage of this process, and if we get all our ducks lined up, it may just well happen.
With Scottish gins rumoured to be the next big thing to break America, business looks bright for Scotland's larder. Laura Alderman, STV News in New York City.
The number of COVID cases in Scotland has declined for the second week in a row. 1 in 13 people had the virus last week, down from 1 in 12 the week before. Infections in the rest of the UK remain near or at record levels, with only Scotland seeing a drop-off. A man has been arrested and charged in connection with throwing a bottle during the Old Firm derby that injured a member of Celtic's backroom staff. The 32-year-old is due to appear at Glasgow Sheriff Court on Monday, and inquiries are ongoing into another bottle-throwing incident at Ibrox that saw the start of the second half delayed. Around 200 people have demonstrated at the port of Cairnryan over the sacking of 800 staff by the ferry operator P&O.
You're not sailing, P&O.
Unions are demanding changes to the law to ensure no other workers face the same situation. The company says it is preparing to restart sailings to Larne next week.
When these ships of shame are actually running with passengers on them, we'll be back here to blockade the port, to ask freight hauliers and others not to use the scab vessels, the P&O vessels. That's the game we're in. Until we get legislation changed that ensures this can't happen again, we will be here again and again and again.
Now to sport, and in golf, Robert McIntyre looks on course to make the cut at Masters in Augusta. The Scot finished his second round 2 over par, making him joint 28th in the overall standings. The top 50 in the field progress to the weekend to compete for the coveted green jacket. And finally, this weekend, the Edinburgh Science Festival returns for the first time since before the pandemic. It's one of Europe's largest events, with more than 270 events, interactive exhibitions, talks and workshops will all be taking place all over the city. Indigo Stafford has more.
Science class isn't usually this fun.
Science is better than what you think. They have lots of fun things. Claw machines, a surgery. It was just fun.
It was quite revolting sometimes. Sometimes it was exciting.
He's dead.
He's not dead, don't worry. Taking place throughout the Easter holidays, the festival is aiming to inspire curious minds of all ages.
We have loads of things happening across the city in loads of different venues. It's a great way for the kids to get excited about science. They don't even realise that, we're teaching them science, and they're having loads of fun.
For the next 2 weeks, the Edinburgh Science Festival will be bringing people together, creating new experiences and sharing the joy of discovery. Indigo Stafford, STV News, Edinburgh.
Well, that's your late news. Now let's take a look at the weekend weather with Sean.
Today's outlook is becoming more and more unsettled.
Blue Hotels, sponsor STV Weather.
A very good evening to you. Another cold, frosty night to come for many of us, especially inland. Temperatures tonight down to about -2, -3 parts of Lanarkshire and also across Ayrshire. 1 or 2 showers still coming in across Coll, Tyree, Mull, Jura and Islay. Here we're more exposed to that northerly airflow, elsewhere dry. And we hang on to that northerly during tomorrow, so that still means our showers mainly across the Hebrides, also across the Northwest Highlands. Quite a few showers around here, merging into longer spells of rain. And I expect we will see some more of those showers creeping southwards into Stirling and across mainland Argyll during the afternoon. Many central and southern parts mostly dry tomorrow with sunshine. Now the temperatures are not going to be overly high. We were 11, 12 earlier in the week, weren't we? Highs tomorrow 7 or 8 degrees, but well, you know what, this time of year, you've got a bit of shelter from the breeze, strong sunshine, it won't feel too bad. So hopefully a few wee benches in the sunshine won't feel too bad. Temperatures 9 or 10 degrees on a Sunday, and for many of us it remains dry and bright. Bye-bye.
TUI Blue Hotels, sponsor STV Weather.
That's all. We'll be back tomorrow evening, but from everyone on the Late team, good night.